This Week in College Football is brought to you by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, Nissan, Lowe's, Dove Men Plus Care, and Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville. We start this week off as usual with the top 25. This week brought to you by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, the perfect combination of chocolate and peanut butter. The entire top 25 is shaken up from top to bottom this week, so let's start with the top 5. At number 1 and still undefeated, The Ohio State University at 11-0 as they prepare for the game against Michigan. Sitting right behind them at number 2 for the first time since 1964, the Illinois Fighting Illini. Also undefeated, they play in-state rival Northwestern this weekend. Notre Dame at 10-1 is number 3. Kansas State had an amazing comeback from 18 down in the second half and survived in overtime at Texas. They improved to 9-2. And rounding out your top 5 from the Sun Belt Conference, the 11-0 undefeated Appalachian State Mountaineers. At number 6, we have another undefeated team, the Utes of Utah from the Pac-12. At number 7, Penn State, they're 9-2, and they're getting ready to take on fellow top 25 team Michigan State. At number 8, it is 10-1 LSU. They jumped up 2 spots after the 63-14 thrashing of Florida on Saturday in Death Valley. Tennessee at number 9, they don't move after the 4-point win over South Alabama. That game came down to the final play. Tennessee corner Riley Eccleston came up with the game-stealing interception on the Hail Mary with no time remaining. Rounding out the top 10 is the Yellow Jackets of Georgia Tech. They fall 8 spots after getting dismantled by Notre Dame 55-10. They take on arch rival Georgia this weekend in a game full of some clean, old-fashioned hate. At 11, we have the 8-3 Auburn Tigers. That is 8 more wins than Alabama has this year. The Tigers take on the winless Crimson Tide in the Iron Bowl on Saturday. Missouri at number 12, they're 9-2. Navy at number 13, they're 11-0 undefeated. They have a bye this week as they prepare for the AAC Championship next week, followed by their matchup with Army a week later. The Texas Longhorns down 3 spots to number 14 after losing to Kansas State. They are 8-3. Rounding out the top 15, Texas Tech, 9-2. They're fighting for a spot in the top 10 should the dominoes fall their way. At number 16, the Nebraska Cornhuskers. They come into the week 8-3. They take on Iowa at home on Black Friday. The Bruins of UCLA are 9-2. They're ranked 17th. Liberty at 18, they're 10-1, and they just took down now number 19 Louisiana. They're 9-2 out of the Sun Belt. Rounding out the top 20 is the final unbeaten team in the polls, the San Jose State Spartans from the Mountain West. And the final 5 teams in the poll this week. At 21, we have the 8-3 Michigan State Spartans as they prepare for Penn State. Air Force and Tulane both win and improve to 9-2. They are 22nd and 23rd respectively. The story of the week, though, has to be Rice. The Owls are having themselves a season to remember. Earlier in the year, they upset then number 10 Texas, and now they have taken that momentum and propelled themselves to 9-2 and a number 24 ranking. This is the first time they have been ranked in 50 years. They haven't seen the polls since 1961. And rounding out your top 25 is the 9-2 Kentucky Wildcats, who are back in the polls for the second time this year after a Week 9 loss bumped them out. It's Thanksgiving week, which means rivalries and lots of them. Jim Harbaugh leads the 6-5 Michigan Wolverines as they welcome the number 1 team in the nation, Ryan Day's 11-0 Ohio State Buckeyes, into the Big House for what is simply known as the game, being played under the lights for the first time ever. kickoff is set for 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central on ABC. It's ESPN Saturday Night Football. Now, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this commercial break and a word from our sponsors.
If the peanut butter in a Reese's could talk to the chocolate, what would it say? You complete me. Should we start a podcast? Who does your ridges?
Welcome back, and now it's time for the Top 25 Bike Conference. This week, presented by Nissan. Innovation that excites. The American is once again represented by Navy and Tulane. The ACC is led by Georgia Tech and only Georgia Tech, following North Carolina's embarrassing home loss to Wofford. More on that in a minute. The Big Ten continues to be the top conference with 5 teams. Ohio State and Illinois are the top 2, Penn State in the top 10, and Nebraska and Michigan State at 16 and 21. The Big 12 is represented by now number 4 Kansas State, the Texas Longhorns, and the Red Raiders of Texas Tech. Conference USA finally has a ranked team, and it is the Rice Owls in their first appearance since 1961. The MAC has no ranked teams, the Independents have 2 in Notre Dame and Liberty, and the Mountain West has 2 in San Jose State and Air Force. The Pac-12 is represented by top 10 team Utah at number 6, and with them is the UCLA Bruins at 17. The SEC has LSU jumping Tennessee, followed by Auburn, Missouri, and Kentucky. Finally, the Sun Belt has App State finally in the top 5, and the Ragin' Cajuns of Louisiana at 19. So, in conclusion, the MAC is the lone conference without a ranked team. Conference USA and the ACC each have a sole representative. The American, Independents, Mountain West, Pac-12, and Sun Belt all have 2 teams, and the Big Ten and SEC each have 5. That brings us to the top 25 dropouts, presented by Lowe's. Do it better for less. Start at Lowe's. The Florida Gators have defied the odds all season. They started 0-1, but only fell to 7th. After a second loss, they were 0-2, ranked 12th, and they could not consistently rack up wins. After week 7, they sat 3-4, ranked 16th in the nation somehow. After 3 straight wins, they got to 14th after almost losing to Samford. But they sat 6-4 with a chance to justify their spot by beating 10th ranked LSU in Death Valley. They didn't. In fact, they got dismantled 63-14. A loss that was finally the nail in the coffin. Florida falls out at 6-5, and they play the Seminoles of Florida State on Saturday. North Carolina, on the other hand, was deserving of their spot, until they weren't. An up-and-down season left them at 6-4 going into last week, somehow sitting 18th in the nation. And then they lost to the Wofford Terriers from the Southern Conference, at home, in Chapel Hill, 49-38. An FCS loss causes another team to drop out of the polls at 6-5. That transitions us to the outside looking in. This week, brought to you by Dove Men Plus Care. Be comfortable in your own skin. 4 of these teams sit at 8-3, but the best of the bunch is the 9-2 Old Dominion Monarchs from Conference USA. They've been hanging around all season and could get in with a win this week against Charlotte. The other 4 programs are as follows. Fresno State, who takes on number 20 San Jose State on Thanksgiving. UNLV, who takes on number 22 Air Force on the road on Black Friday. The Iowa Hawkeyes, who also play on Black Friday, they take on the number 16 Nebraska Cornhuskers on the road, and they could use a win to build momentum heading into the postseason. Finally, SMU at 8-3 looks to be ranked if they can get a win against Tulsa on Saturday. That brings us to the big games of the week, presented by Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville. It's Thanksgiving weekend, and what a better way to spend your holiday than with family, food, and football. Thursday night, it's the Egg Bowl, and the cowbells will be ringing live from Starkville. Mississippi State and the Ole Miss Rebels in a long-standing rivalry dating back to 1901. They kick off at 7:30. Then on Saturday, 3:30 Eastern on ESPN, it's the game formerly known as the Civil War. Oregon takes on Oregon State in another clash at Reser Stadium in Corvallis. And if that's not enough for you, at the same time on ABC, it's number 7 Penn State heading on the road to take on the 21st ranked Spartans of Michigan State in the battle for the land-grant trophy. Then directly following that, it's another big rivalry from the Big Ten, The Game. ESPN Saturday Night Football travels to Ann Arbor, where the undefeated number 1 Ohio State Buckeyes put their perfect record on the line in a game that is never guaranteed, when they take on the 6-5 Michigan Wolverines, who are hoping a big win can give them momentum heading into the postseason. The game kicks off at 7:30 Eastern on ABC, with Fowler and Herbstreit on the call. But it all starts with ESPN College Game Day, built by the Home Depot, live from Ann Arbor on the campus of the University of Michigan, with coverage starting at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on ESPN. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, and we hope you enjoy this rivalry-filled week of college football action.